Through the concrete cracks worn weary by work boots and high heels, through the concrete cracks showered in tears of sorrow, tears of joy, through the concrete cracks rumbled by reverberations of 100 years, a flower on the hill takes its first breath, and a grand hope springs. Welcome to the Spring Street podcast at the intersection of creation and destruction in the heart of downtown Los Angeles. And now, a word from the sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by Starship Kairos, a podcast studio available for bookings in downtown Los Angeles. Starship Kairos is where my guests and I make this show happen. Soundproofed, cozy, and equipped with professional audio gear, Starship Kairos is an ideal location for any type of podcast. Starship Kairos offers a full suite of services including content consultation, mixing and mastering, and custom jingle writing. For rates and booking, check them out on Instagram at Starship Kairos or click on the link in the description. And now, let's dive in. Eric.
Sheldon.
Welcome to the Spring Street podcast, my man.
Hey, man. Thank you for inviting me. Looking forward to having great conversation with you.
Absolutely, man. Well, you have a very interesting story that goes back to Alabama. And I'm debating where we want to start because just to give a quick summary, you have a story about your experience when you were playing football at Auburn.
Yeah.
At the same time, too, I also kind of want to hear a little bit, maybe just before we jump into that, about your experience growing up in Alabama.
Oh, wow.
You know, maybe a little bit of that prehistory before you even got to Auburn.
Well, what I didn't tell you initially when we were speaking is that I'm actually the fifth child of 9 kids.
No way.
I had a sister and 3 brothers older, and I had a sister and 3 brothers younger, and I was the middle of all of them. We grew up in a apartment in an area called Cooper Green. It's in Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
And it's a tough little neighborhood, but you know, I grew up in those neighborhoods where if someone saw your athletic prowess, that they would fend anything off. Like if a drug dealer tried to pull you in, or somebody tried to do something to you that wasn't beneficial to you making it to the out of the ghetto, then there was somebody who was always there to protect you. So I was one of those people.
Interesting. You know? So at a young age, people could tell you were an athlete.
Yes. My brother Randy started me in football when I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, and then he would have me outside, and he wouldn't let me go in the house until I caught the longest pass. And one time it was so bad that I almost ran into a moving bus.
Oh my goodness!
But I caught the ball, and then pretty much everybody knew that they used to call me actually the Juice after O.J. Simpson.
Wow!
What irony!
Wow. So, were there other sports that you leaned into as well? Baseball, basketball, anything else?
Well, I played basketball and I ran track.
Okay.
But the reason I played basketball was I had 2 best friends. One name was Ed Thornton, and my biggest best friend was Don Skipper. And I wanted Don to get a scholarship. And so I played basketball, and I could jump really high. So what I would actually do is just get the rebound. I could be under the goal, but I would get the rebound instead of shooting. I would throw it out to him so he can score points so the scouts can look at him in order for him to get a scholarship.
Oh man!
And then I ran track to get me faster for football.
Yeah. Did your friend ever get that scholarship?
He got a scholarship to a smaller college.
Okay.
But he still got a scholarship. So
man,
I did my job.
So when you that period of time where you're playing in high school and then you were about to go to Auburn, were you being scouted? How did that? I'm not as much of a sports person, so that is, fill me in. How does that work?
Well, the crazy thing is that I grew up a Alabama fan, and by my sophomore year, I started getting noticed after a few games, and I had a couple of interceptions. And then, and I was coming on as a receiver. Those 2 guys that I spoke to you about earlier, Ed and Don, those guys were actually the superstars of the football team. They were
Oh,
running
wow.
backs, and I was a receiver and defensive back. And they were taller than me. I was like 5'6", 5'7", and then all of a sudden I grew to 6'1",
Yeah.
and so my sophomore year. And so what happened was by my junior year, I started getting a lot of letters and getting noticed by several schools like Florida State, Tennessee, Auburn, not Alabama. But so when my end of my junior year, my high school coach told Auburn that I was going to sign with them. I didn't, I think they made that decision for me.
Wow.
And so they did everything they could to make sure I was in the right classes. I was college ready, make sure I took the test that I needed to take in order to be accepted into a university. And during that time, because of that, the recruitment process actually stopped because everybody knew that I was going to be going to Auburn. And so basically, I only went on one recruiting visit my senior year, and that was to Auburn.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did they offer you a full ride?
They offered me a full ride, yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what every kid in high school dreams about.
Yeah, especially when you promised your grandmother that you was going to get your college degree. So I looked at football as a way for me to get my college degree.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was it like that first year, being a freshman, stepping on the field, stepping into classes? Describe that experience to me.
Well, Sheldon, the thing is, you have those dreams that everything's going to go well. You're going to go there and you're going to be a superstar and you're going to be. But what you don't realize is that everybody that's there, they were the high school superstar. They were, All-American. They were all the stuff that you thought that you were in high school.
Yeah.
Everybody that have those accolades are there now.
Wow.
And so when I got there, I had a rude awakening. I ended up getting redshirted.
What does that mean? I read that on your Wikipedia.
Redshirted means that you have 5 years to play for. So that means that you're not going to play that year, and you're going to you can work on your academics. You can do whatever you need to do in order to get stronger, get better, equipped to play the following years. Even though I was like considered second string, and I practiced with the team, second string, but I still knew I was going to be redshirted.
Did that affect your scholarship at all?
No, it didn't have anything to do with your scholarship. It just means you have that. Like I said, you can work on your grades. You can work on pretty much advancing yourself in order for academics are concerned. Because you have 5 years. In football, and when you play sports, technically you're there for 4 years, or you can leave after your junior year at the earliest.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What was your major going in?
When I first started, when I got there, my major was I was going to major in pre-law, so I was in criminal justice pre-law.
Wow.
But I ended up having to switch because I played football. I had to switch. I ended up getting a degree in criminology.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I feel like that degree and the story that is about to come up, those are very tied together. It's kind of interesting what went down. So at some point in time, you begin recording.
Yes.
Or maybe where do you want to start with this story? How do you want to?
Well, what had happened was, so when I first was being recruited by Auburn, several players had complained about the treatment of the black athletes there, and so I'm like, well, if it's so bad, then why are you there? And then I didn't witness it really what they were saying until I actually got there, and then when I got there, unlike a lot of incoming freshmen, I met a young lady, and I ended up getting married my freshman year.
Oh, wow.
So, and that could have been part of the reason that I felt like some of the treatment that I was getting from because their thing was that they didn't bring me there to get married. They brought me there to play football. So, in turn, because they started treating me differently because I got married, me and the ex-wife decided that I should tape some of the different things that was happening. And so
wow.
she brought me a tape recorder one day, and I went into the coach's office scared to death and just recorded all the different things that was taking place. And it could have been from some of the derogatory things they were saying, from also them giving me money, or in order to perform on the field. So
Yeah.
several different things that took place, and then I just once I started recording, I just became like, you know, the recorder.
Yeah, you were basically undercover on
Yeah.
your
Donnie,
own team.
Donnie Brasco, undercover.
So in terms of the treatment, and I was reading your Wikipedia just before this interview, it talks about.
I have a Wikipedia. No,
You do have. It talks about some of the discrimination that was going on at the time. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, just the treatment of the athlete, and just more so how they just didn't encourage you or didn't care whether or not you got an education or not. The coaches, pretty much said that they brought you there to play football. They didn't bring you there to be educated.
And they were specifically saying that only to the black athletes?
That's what it felt like,
Okay.
And then, a lot of that had to do also to the fact that, that's pretty much way we were geared to think anyway as a black athlete, that, you're going to go there, you're going to play sports, and, anything else, you're not going to do that. And then a lot of the different things, I felt like the dorms and different areas was segregated, and then we always talked about how the blacks was in the back of the line when it came to this thing that Auburn does called the Tiger Walk.
What is the Tiger Walk?
It's like when you get ready for the game and everybody walk from the dorm to the stadium.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
So
so
when that would happen,
the blacks would always be in the back. I mean, it could be that that's what they just gravitated towards, but I felt like that it just seemed and felt segregated to
that's
me.
interesting.
Yeah.
In terms of the dorms, was it? I mean, I know that in most universities it's kind of mandatory, like freshman, sophomore year, that like the students have to stay on campus.
Right.
Were you part of a fraternity or anything at the time?
No, not at the time. And then once I got married, I was actually not in the dorms anymore either.
Got it. Yeah,
You
that
know,
makes
so-
sense. That you wouldn't want to be living in a
With the
dorm
wife
with
in the
your
dorm.
with your wife.
And then soon, son. After that, I had 2
Oh, wow.
months later, she was pregnant with
Oh,
my
wow,
son. Yeah.
Man. So in terms of the segregation between dorms, was that something that was like, would you see that school wide, or was it more football team specific?
It just seemed like when I was there, it could have changed, it could have been different, but when I was there, it just seemed like that all the blacks was roomed together and all the whites were roomed together. So
Wow. And what year was this that you were at
this was
Auburn?
in 1986.
Okay.
Yeah.
So end of the 80s.
In the 80s, yeah.
This is an embarrassing question, but Auburn is in.
Alabama.
Well, I know it's in Alabama, but is it in Birmingham or is it
Auburn,
in?
it's in Auburn, Alabama.
Oh, okay, it is in Auburn, Alabama.
Yeah. That's not, I mean, a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, you know what? One of these days, I'll go to Alabama. I'll spend some time and I'll see the cities.
You'll love it. You'll love it.
But give me a sense about. I mean, that's kind of a perfect segue. I'm very unfamiliar with Alabama. So what was the larger context like at that time in the 80s, in Auburn, in Birmingham, when it came to maybe like issues regarding race?
Well, for me personally, I just feel that back then, people didn't have a problem with saying the N-word,
And when you say people, you mean just like anyone, or like specifically white people?
White people didn't have a problem
Yeah.
with saying N-word.
Wow.
Even when I was living, before I started, becoming, a great athlete per se, I have situations where I would be walking through a neighborhood or something and they'll say, "Boy, you don't belong here," stuff like that. So,
Jeez.
and remember, Alabama is the heart of the civil rights movement, pretty much. So, that wasn't to be expected. You know what I mean? I mean, it's one. I wasn't shocked to hear certain things, coming out of someone's mouth. And I don't get me wrong. Now I had several friends that are teammates and everything that that was pro black or whatever. But then I had several other people in the school. Like one time, I remember when I first started going to my school, and when I went to live with my grandmother. When a guy, I walked as soon as I walked in, the guy said, "You just a nigga, 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 nigga." So I'm like, what?
Jeez.
Of course I beat him up and put him in the trash can. But yeah, so
Wow.
yeah. But the whole pulse of everything that was going on is that, people still uh, could say or think they could get away with saying whatever they wanted to say, and then without any consequences.
Wow. So at some point in time, you've collected about 70 recordings, and you've been recording, derogatory conversations, but also conversations regarding monetary exchange.
Right.
And for people who aren't familiar with the problem with that, with the NCAA rules and athletes, can you give a little bit of an explanation on why that's a problem and how that
Well,
works?
Today it's not a problem because everybody's always tell me. Well, I've started getting a lot of comments from people saying that I'm probably the guy who pretty much started NIL, But I'm like, well, but what the issue was that it's against the NCAA rules to get money from a booster or a coach or anybody like that if you're an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they give you a scholarship, the scholarship basically just pays for you being football. It doesn't really give you like money to have as far as any tangible money like in your hand or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
like NIL and all that stuff does. You basically just they just say, well, we'll house you, we'll feed you, and but you don't have any other thing, no stipend in order to take your girlfriend out or your wife out or anything
Mm-hmm.
like that. And then for some of us who income meets the requirements, there is a Pell Grant, but the university take most of the Pell Grant from you because you're on a scholarship, and
Interesting.
then they don't allow you to work. You can't work because you have to play football. You have to practice. You have to go to school. You have to be eligible.
Right.
So everything that you can think of that goes against you trying to be able to afford different things is for even as as just extra clothes.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that because you're under these such NCAA scrutiny.
Yeah. I mean, in my mind, that kind of sounds like a beneficial thing because if you can't work and you have to focus on football and your grades, if a coach is,
It's very beneficial to if you're the athlete that's getting it.
yeah.
But my issue was that, and the reason I started to get it was because I felt like it wasn't fair that certain players was getting it and others wasn't. So that's why when I testified before Congress at a congressional hearing, I said that well, first of all, I called college football the 100-yard lie, and then I said that athletes are brought there to play football only and not to get the benefits of anything else. And then I stated to the Congresswoman at the time, that that I felt like the players should get first of all get a monthly stipend, but as well have at least $50,000 to $100,000 set aside for them every year that they're there and they're eligible, and they get after whether or not they go to the NFL or not, that they still have this money to fall back on because the university is making at that time the university was making 18 to 20 something million a year off the athletes' back, and then we had the football supported other sports like basketball or tennis or track or whatever sport. We supported that, but we wasn't the beneficiary of anything
Right.
other than saying that we got a scholarship.
Yeah. So when you were playing, you were receiving certain monetary benefits from coaches and people involved?
I met a booster who set up a situation where I could get benefits like other players who quote unquote were the better players.
Mm-hmm. And then in terms of, you said it seemed like it wasn't very fair in terms of the way that people received
Right.
these extra benefits.
Right.
How would people receive? Was it star players?
Like I said, I was saying earlier, the better players would have something set up where if they made a big tackle, made a big hit, made an interception, made something, or just a lot of times just out of recruiting them. You know, a lot of players who were recruited back then, you know, their mother, you know, may have gotten a new house, may have gotten a new car, may have gotten, you know, cash, you know, allotments or whatever, in order to get that player to come to the university. Same thing they're doing now, NIL, except back then they made it illegal to do it.
Interesting. So at some point, this all comes to a head. This all comes out.
Right.
So what happened?
Well, I at the time I wrote a term paper about what it's like being black at a predominantly white university for a sociology course.
Yeah.
My professor, a white professor, he wasn't going to get tenure. And so a reporter who was a white reporter who was married to a black woman was doing a story on racism. So the professor gave my paper to the reporter, and at the time I was getting ready to graduate, and I got I promised, like I told you earlier, I promised my grandmother I would get my college degree.
Yeah.
So this teacher in another class flunked me in my class, and then when I went to ask her, along with my ex-wife and my 2-year-old son, I asked her why did she give me a failing grade, and then she started running all down the hall, screaming and yelling like I was trying to harm her. So I said, you know what? I'm sick of this. I'm tired of that's what we get. That's the backlash I get for just coming nicely and ask her. And so I said I'm gonna just I told the reporter to print the story. So when he printed the story, at the same time I had just gotten drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. And so I said, there's more to tell, but I'm gonna hold off from telling anything. But if I feel like Auburn say anything negative about me or treat me, I get treated differently when I'm at Kansas City, then I'm gonna tell the rest of the story. And so they called my bluff. So they didn't know that I had to tape conversations.
Wow.
Yeah. So after after I got to Kansas City, I went from 4th string to 2nd string to being cut after being told I was going to make the team, or at least, I was going to be put on the practice squad.
Yeah.
But the first thing out of the guy's mouth when we started conversating, he said, well, this had nothing to do with Auburn. And I'm like, well, who said it? Why did you bring that up? Who said it had anything to do with Auburn? So I said, okay. And then when I got back, the news started, they started trying to make fun of me and try to, I guess tick me off. And then I said, well, since you guys didn't listen to what I said and you called my bluff, then I just want you guys to know that I have recordings of Auburn boosting alumni paying me in order to perform on the football field.
Wow.
So, and that's how everything got started after that, 60 Minutes and all that other stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there were some pretty intense outcomes from that.
Yeah.
I mean, weren't there some coaches that lost jobs? What exactly happened?
Coach Dye he retired, but he retired with a couple of $1 million. The coaches went to other schools, and they still was able to. Only thing that happened, Auburn got a couple of years probation
from the NCAA.
From the NCAA, but in most sports, Auburn was a repeat offender. So actually, they should have gotten the death penalty because the tennis program had already been earlier been on probation.
That.
But they didn't do that because when you're a big time school, they're gonna do whatever they can to save you. So probation was even though I had all those years and years of conversations.
Yeah.
But let me say this too. For the players that came after me, and that was doing, and even my teammates, that I had no ill will towards them. I love my teammates. I love the different people.
Yeah.
That come after me. I still root for Auburn. I don't have any ill wills toward Auburn. I can only address what I was dealing with at the time, what I was going through. So, and if you poke the bear, you come at me, then I'm gonna come back at you. So, but there's no ill will or ill feelings toward Auburn or anything like that. I still cheer for them, and I hate that we can't seem to beat Alabama, but one day we will again. Because in my time we beat Alabama pretty much. Out of the 4 or 5 years I was there, we beat Alabama like 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Looking back on that whole experience, is there anything that you would have done differently?
I think I would have waited until to see if I was able to get a career in the NFL. At least 3-4 years instead of being cut after,
Mm.
not because one thing that may he rest in peace, Marty Schottenheimer said about me, when I was at Kansas City was that, when I hit people, they go backwards, and I wish I would have got the opportunity to make people go backwards, but I didn't,
Mm.
So no regrets of or wish I would have did pretty much done anything differently, but more so just that I would have got the opportunity,
Mhm.
to showcase my skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you were playing for Auburn, what were those games like? How
Oh,
big was the stadium or the arena? Like
man.
like how many people were watching these
Well,
games?
well, I'll give you an example. When in 1990, when we played Alabama
Mhm.
for the first time in Jordan Hare Stadium, it was I think that at that time the stadiums fitted could get 85-90,000 people in it,
Wow.
but there was another 100 and something thousand outside of the stadium, and it was
Wow.
just that, and to be I was. I always, a little trivia, I always say that I was the starting cornerback against Alabama for the first game at Jordan Hare Stadium.
Hmm.
So to be a part of that was, it was one of the greatest feelings, in the world,
Yeah.
And then I had another memory of a 15 tackle performance against Florida State in a game as a corner.
Wow.
So that's a lot of tackles.
Yeah. That's
So,
incredible,
yeah.
man. How many people get to experience that? How many people get to step onto a field and you have fans
Yeah.
cheering, watching you, watching the team?
Yeah. But
Thrilling.
you know what though? Those same fans that was cheering me was booing me and calling me nigga at my graduation though. so but that's why they call them fanatics.
Wow.
And it is what it is, and like I said, I every now and then I'll get a someone that's just a fanatic, and they'll call me or say something about the situation at Auburn, and I just pretty much tell them, I said, stop letting me live rent free in your mind, because I was a child. I was 20 something years old when that
Yeah.
happened.
People still call you?
Oh yeah, they still,
No way.
some people that just couldn't get over what happened still
Wow.
call me and still say, crazy stuff, but that's just human nature, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of an interesting thing. How did you deal with that at the time? It's such I can imagine there were so many emotions
Yeah.
going through
Well,
you.
when you lose your grandmother, your mother, one of your brother get killed a month before your mother died, and just so many different things that happen to you, you're able to compartmentalize different things. And I I have a strong faith and strong belief in God,
Mm.
and so I knew that He told me a long time ago that I was going to be fine. Even to this day, I don't worry about stuff that happens to me. It's just, and then just treat it like water off a duck's back, man. It happens. It's gonna happen. And you just,
Wow.
I spend less time dwelling on focusing on bad stuff, and then I'm just a better person for it though.
Wow.
That I don't worry about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you end up finishing from Auburn?
Yeah, I
So you
finished.
yeah, that's right, because you were at your graduation.
I got the degree in criminology, and like I said, I got
Wow.
booed and called nigga at my graduation.
My goodness.
But I'm so crazy. I was like cheering them on, like please boo me, like
Wow.
because at that point it didn't matter, because
Yeah.
I got what I promised my grandma that I was going to get, and that was my college degree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then how soon after did you go out to Kansas City?
Well, I left Kansas City because I got drafted, and then I went to training camp.
Mm-hmm.
After I spoke out about how Auburn treat the black athlete,
Mm-hmm.
I went to training camp at Kansas City for about 3 months, and then they released me,
Mm-hmm.
and then I came back and stayed in Auburn for a little while before moving to Washington D.C. because my ex-wife was an intern at BET.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that training camp, was that actually before you graduated from Auburn then?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So they drafted you in your junior year or your senior year?
That was my senior year, but what happened was I took off like a year. So I graduated, instead of graduating in 91, I graduated in 92. And
I
I
see.
came back because like I said, it was just it was just, I had to do it.
Yeah.
Remember, and I knew I was going to get booed or something crazy was going to happen, but I more important than playing football was getting my college degree.
Yeah.
So.
And what is that process like, getting drafted to an NFL team?
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But you just have to be prepared. That what you expect may not be exactly what ends up happening. And the thing is that I didn't go to any of the bowl games, like the Senior Bowl or none of the bowl games that you play in before, they can evaluate you even more before the draft. So I didn't go into any of those. I ended up going to the NFL Combine, and whatever they saw at the Combine that allowed the Kansas City Chiefs to draft. But Auburn didn't help me like they did a lot of the players, like several of my teammates that played the same position, who were up for all SEC, all everything. They didn't get drafted, but I did.
Wow.
So.
And when you get drafted, is there an initial contract that they say you're going to get paid this amount?
Yeah,
or?
And it is funny that you say that because I did get a contract. My contract as a 10th round draft pick for the Kansas City, they don't have those rounds anymore. It's only go to 7 rounds now. But my contract at Kansas City, 10th round draft pick, was worth $250,000.
Wow.
Yeah. But, I mean, of course, they've changed totally now, but yeah.
And was that per year, like $250,000?
It's for the year, and then there was bonuses and different things if I made the team and all that different things. But basically, it was $250,000 with a $25,000 signing bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite NFL team growing up?
Oh, the same team that's my favorite now, the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
Come on now, go boys.
Yeah. Wow. So at some point along the way, I mean, you had this huge momentous experience in your life, and then you had to pivot.
Yeah.
And so where did you go after all this?
Well, it's funny because I pivoted not. I ended up growing up in different times and different phases of my life. People they used to tell me I had this model look, right? And so I was like, what the hell is a model look? So I ended up going. When I moved to DC and living there, I went to this audition. And the audition, the guy offered me for a print job like $200 an hour. And I was like, I said, okay, I can figure out what the model look is,
Yeah.
So from there I started, modeling, and then and I did that for several years. And also, I worked as a teacher. I taught special ed, 10th grade, 9th, 10th grade special ed for 3 years, and then finally I said I'm going to move to California.
Wow.
And so. Now, that was the pivot. But I got lucky and got some friends here, said I can come live with them, until I get on my feet. And then I started writing, producing, and directing movies, which I ended up, I got a movie at present right now on Amazon. And then I had a couple more that's been on Amazon and, Hulu and Tubi and all that stuff. So.
Wow.
But I taught myself how to write, produce, and direct.
What inspired you to do that?
When I got here, a lot of my friends, African-American friends, Hispanic, were just people, minorities, they wasn't getting picked for roles. And I was like, I'll write a script and I'll put you in like, I mean, like literally you and I could be talking right now. And then I'll say, Sheldon, you want to role in my movie? And then you'd be like, yeah, okay, right. But then I'll call you and say, look, man.
Let's do it, man.
I got a role for you for this. I got a role for you actually in this horror movie that I'm doing in a couple of weeks.
Oh, let's do it. I would love to be in a horror movie.
For sure.
I was just saying that.
You're probably going to get killed. You're probably going to get killed.
Let's do it.
Because my last movie.
Put on the fake blood.
Look, Sheldon, my last movie, all the black people got either kidnapped or killed. So this new movie, all the white people going to get killed.
Sign me up, man.
I got you, brother.
I'll do it.
All right, for sure.
Wow. So you move out to California. It's by the sounds of it, you had separated from your wife by then?
Yeah. My ex-wife, we decided to go our separate ways. Her and my son went to Texas, and I came to California.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you came out to California, what year was that?
2005.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, 2005.
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine that LA in 2005 was still so different than LA now in 2024.
Oh, definitely, man.
What were some of your first experiences out here in LA?
Well, some of the first experiences that, after I'm thinking that I was the hot body, six pack, just ripped up.
Yeah.
Everybody was like that.
Yeah.
Everybody. And so, but then I quickly had to get used to the fact that going on auditions is definitely it's a crapshoot, and you may not get any work, and that no matter how good you think you look or how fine you think you are, that they're gonna pick who they want.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, them picking who they want may not be you. So, and that's why another reason I started making the movies also. So.
Wow. So when you were learning how to produce, you were learning how to write. Were you reading books about how to do this? Did you have mentors? How did you learn?
I did read a couple of books on how to teach yourself screenwriting. And then me and a friend of mine by the name of Scott Evans, we would just make movies, and I'm real good at the dialogue part of it, but he's good at like setting the scenes up and all that stuff like that. And so I would piggyback off him. But I was producing, paying for the movie. And then finally one day him and I had like a small disagreement where he thought one way, I thought another way. And then I said, you know what, let me direct this and see how it goes. And so that's what happened. So I ended up directing. And then the rest pretty much is, history.
Yeah. And getting your movies on Amazon and Tubi, how does that process work?
Well, basically the film festival circuit, like what happened was I had a lot of great success on the film festival circuit with, like two of my movies been accepted like 20, 25 festivals.
Wow.
Yeah. And so with that momentum, different people see it, and then they'll come at you and say, you know what, we'll set up. You can stream on our platform or whatever. We'll do this and that. Most of the time, if you're independent, they rip you off. But
jeez.
But the thing that my present wife Nicole and I said that we'll just look at this as a exposure. So I got a lot of exposure. I hadn't made much money off my movies, but I've gotten a lot of exposure. And the one thing that these people didn't do is they didn't take the integrity of what I was doing. At least they kept my name on them, and that I wrote and produced them. So therefore, the exposure part, kind of worked out.
Yeah. With submitting movies to festivals, do you just submit a trailer?
I submit the whole movie.
The whole movie.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And you can do it through Film Freeway.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Or just different, whatever I can't think of the name of, but you submit it, and then if they like your movie, they'll,
Wow.
They'll call you and say, your movie has been accepted,
Yeah.
So
with this new movie, this horror movie, is it one that you've written yourself?
Yes, it's called The Haunted Hospital.
Okay.
And me and along with one of my former Auburn teammates, guy by the name of Harry Mose, bless his heart. He's been ill lately, but him and I wrote it, and it's based on the previous movie that we did called A Kidnapping on Asylum Hill. So just piggybacked off the other movie. One was more of a drama based on kidnappings, and the other one we just decided to extend it and make it a horror version of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What's your writing process like?
I have to. If I'm thinking about it, and if it's on my mind, no matter where I'm at, what I'm doing, I can pull. I'll have to. If I'm driving, I'll pull over and just start writing. And I write by hand. I don't write. Like type it up and everything.
Yeah.
I write it out, and then just. Whatever paper that's available, that's what I use.
Interesting.
And then.
So kind of just like when the lightning strikes.
Yeah, and it may not strike sometime.
Yeah.
it may hit you in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
And then but when it does hit me, I just get up and do it. And that's pretty much have been my style.
Yeah.
Pretty much throughout this process. And I've done four features and 3 short films.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I think it's super inspiring. Anybody who has written or produced a film, been able to take just that idea in your mind and bring it out to life.
And remember this too, Sheldon. Now, before I owned Ramsey Security, I was working for other people making like $15 an hour, and I was still paying people like Tom Sizemore, may he rest in peace, $2,000 a day. So, like I said, I've always been blessed by God.
Wow.
And so, I don't think any actors who've been in my movies that didn't get paid.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. What drives you? What keeps you going when it comes to movies and film, writing?
Just wanting to be different, do something different. Seeing it, whatever you're thinking about, going from concept to creation and to actually seeing it on screen. And my thing for me, it doesn't have to, because I feel that I'm humble enough that my stuff don't have to be on the big screen, as long as it's on somebody's screen. You know.
Yeah, I love that,
So.
man. Well, I'm excited for your horror movie.
Oh man, I got you. You think I'm joking? You're gonna be getting a call real soon.
I'm looking forward to it.
But you're gonna
man.
get killed, so.
All right. Well, I it's got to happen eventually, right?
Right?
It'll make for some good footage for, what do they call it? Your reel.
Your reel.
It'll
That's
be
right.
good for my reel.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
well, out of all these experiences, being able to pivot, being able to jump from one thing and learn, what do you think are some of the most valuable lessons that you've learned just in your time on this
Well, some of the
earth?
well, I've been here 55 years. Been here a little while.
Yeah.
But some of the most valuable lessons is that the biggest and probably the only person that you can trust is yourself. You know, give people the benefit of the doubt. The people who you think don't have your back, or the person with the most money, or a certain, you may think a certain thing about, they may not be the person who has your back. And the little man sometimes is a lot of times the biggest winner in my eyes. Because their willingness to do certain things, even when they don't have it, or don't have the means to do it, and they still do it. That says a lot for me. I've learned a lot, just and like I said, I've humbled myself, over the years, and just to try to be the best person I could be, and not like my wife and I was talking about that today. She was saying, she said, "Ram, what do you how have you been able to handle, like, when people come to you, or they say certain things to you, or the women, they come at you and everything like that?" I just say, I just treat everybody the same, and I try not to say anything that's going to disrespect anybody. I try to be aware of, my surroundings and what I say. I don't use words. I don't, like, I'll give you an example. A few years back, I was doing security, and I was telling the people not to, they were walking in the street. And I was like, don't go in the street. And so they ended up calling me a nigger and everything like that. And
This was a couple of years ago in LA?
Yeah. And so, I was it was like 5 of them. I was gonna whoop all their asses, because that's one thing about it. I'm a Christian guy that try to be nice, but you make me mad, a whole different person. It's a whole different person.
Yeah.
So after confronting, the police ended up coming, and the lady, I told the police what had happened. The young lady said I called them. She said I called them a beaner, and I'm like, what the heck is a beaner? So they said that's derogatory when it comes to Hispanics, Mexicans, they got to eat beans. I said, well, hell, I eat beans, and I'm a beaner too, and from that I just said, you know what, I don't ever, like, if I'm in a disagreement with you, you will never hear me call you a white motherfucker, a white hunky, or whatever, because that's not you. Just you, I'm gonna deal with you for. I don't see color when it comes to in my interaction with people, whether or not they're good, bad, or indifferent. And so that's what I think. That's one of the biggest things that I've learned too. Just people are gonna be people.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna treat them as such.
Yeah.
And we can be. You can see the nice me, or you can see that other me. So.
Well, I think there's a lot of wisdom to that for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
For one, in a city like Los Angeles, you
a
never
melting pot. Yeah.
It's a melting pot, but you never know how somebody is going to react to what you say.
Yeah.
And maybe somebody cuts you off.
Yeah.
And you flip them off, and that escalates into some situation that
seen
just
it happen.
Oh, absolutely.
Over and over.
And yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom to trying to, as much as we can, reel it in, especially when it comes to insults directed to complete strangers.
And it takes
never a good idea.
It takes so much energy to be mad and angry at somebody. It takes so much energy. I like to just smile, have a good, hey, how you doing? You know, and a lot of times people don't say nothing back. They don't speak. They don't, they just, I don't know. It's different.
Yeah.
But that doesn't deter me from being who I am.
Yeah.
You know, so.
I can imagine owning a security company. You've probably seen a lot of crazy things.
Oh, yeah, man.
Here in LA.
All the time.
What's one of the craziest things that you've
Well, the craziest thing is a story that took place several years ago with a homeless guy. He was in one of the locations that I had, and it made the news. It was on like Channel 4, 2, or something like that, where this lady who was in real estate, she tricked this guy. He had a check for $73,000. She tricked him into going to the bank and setting up a bank account with her, and as part of it. And then the next day, she took all of his money.
Oh,
so
man.
I ended up being like a confidant of his. I set up a GoFundMe for him and did several things for him in order to help him get up. But the crazy thing is that he wasn't concerned about losing the $73,000. He was more concerned about getting all his GoFundMe money. So I'm like, are you kidding me right now? So, and it caused a little, made me step back from him because I wanted to get him in, and I found out he was still doing drugs. So once he exhausted his GoFundMe money, I was done. And every now and then he reaches out to me, but I don't have the same. I got him treatment, and sent him to a rehabilitation facility. Yeah. And he was just playing games. He didn't want to get out of his situation at the time. I don't know what he's doing now, but then he did.
Yeah. Yeah. It's stories like that are really tough to hear, because living in Los Angeles, you see a lot of despair, you see a lot of hopelessness and destruction, and sometimes it's hard to know how to actually help somebody, how to truly help.
Yeah. Because you don't know if you give them money, you don't know if they're using it for drugs. Then sometimes if you buy food for them, they don't want that, they throw that away. You like, so you're pretty much damned if you do, damned if you don't. So
it's tough,
and it makes you like very cautious, and wanting to help people, because I'm naturally a nurturer, a giver, and but this, especially the homeless situation, has really made you pause, because you like, well, at one instant you saying, well, I see why people don't want to help them. The other instant, like, dang, I really want to help them, and you don't know who to help.
Yeah, so. It's a really tough, complicated situation.
But now, when they need security to get rid of folks, they call Ramsey Security, and I'm a whole different person then. Like I said, you may get that nice me, Sheldon, and you walk off the property like you're supposed to, or you might get the other me, and you're gonna be going off the property a different way. So,
what types of jobs are you guys typically doing?
We've done everything from I started off at a shopping center in Sherman Oaks after a call from a friend of mine, Kennedy Smith, bless her heart. She called and told a friend, said, you need to let Ramsey, he can get rid of this problem over here. So they called me, and been going on 5 years that we took care of the homeless people. When we first got over there, they had taken over the shopping center. They said the N-word a lot. After I got finished, doing Ramsey Security's justice, if they do show up and see me, they say, how you doing, Mr. Ramsey? So we have that, and then we do we got security at Lucky Strike, we got security at Fleming's, we got security at Sol Agave Mexican restaurant, we got security at Fixin's, and
I know Fixin's. They make a really good crispy chicken sandwich.
Right.
Really good, man.
And so and then several other locations, but just realized that Ramsey Security, looked it up on a Google search, voted one of the top private security companies in the Los Angeles area.
Yeah, congratulations, man.
Thank
That's
you,
awesome.
appreciate it. And
awesome.
and I've only been doing it officially since 2021.
Wow.
So, like I said, God has always blessed me, regardless of good, bad, or indifferent. I always feel like I'm blessed and highly favored. So
wow. You think you're in LA to stay, or?
Oh yeah, I love LA, dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
Never back to Alabama.
Heck no. If I go to Alabama, I better be old and senile. That's the only reason, that I go back there. But no, I love living in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. What are some of your favorite elements about the city, despite the craziness?
Even just the little area that I live in Leimert Park, the comfort, the coziness, the laid back, feeling. Then they have like the little, the area over in the park where you can, have different cultural things going on.
Yeah.
I like the valley. I used to live in the valley, and just it gets hot as heck in the valley, but
it does.
But just the valley people, they're nice. They're nice. I haven't I didn't experience anything negative living in the valley. It was just more so that my wife happened to have a house in LA, so I decided to move to LA. But I just thoroughly just enjoy the people in the valley and in LA.
Yeah,
it's just and if you receptive to my saying hi and being nice to you all the time, then I don't experience too much different from that. So that pretty much make my being here enjoyable.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot to love about Los Angeles. For me, I feel like it's always a bit of a roller coaster. Some days I love it here, and some days, LA drives me up the wall.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
But to be sure, there are certain things that are so special to this place.
Yeah.
The food, there is never a shortage of things to do. There's always something going on, whether it's a special event, a concert. There's, you could go to the beach. You could go up into the mountains. You could get away to Joshua Tree.
You can drive a couple of hours and you in snow.
Yep. Yeah.
So.
I mean, Big Bear is beautiful. Yeah. Big Bear around Christmas time, incredible.
Yeah.
So nice. So, well, before we wrap this up, I'm going to steal a question from another podcaster that I listened to, a guy named Lex Friedman. And that question is, what advice would you give to young people who are just trying to live a good life in this world?
The advice that I would give to young people, especially these young people that we're dealing with, these, what do they call them, millennials?
Millennials? That would be me.
I would tell
and Gen Z.
I
Gen
would
Z's
tell
after
you
that.
guys, if you have someone in your life who's more of a mentor or someone who you look up to, ask them how did they get to the point that they got where they are, and then try to find someone that you can not so much mimic, but use as a role model to get you to the next level. And just take your time. Stop being in such a rush. Take your time, and like they say back in the day, smell the coffee. See what this is all about. Study more, learn about history and your background. Don't let DeSantos or anybody tell you that history ain't important or whatever, certain history ain't important.
Yeah.
And just read and just do certain things that and see how other people did it before you.
Yeah. I think that's good advice. I think the piece of advice I could take with that is just slow down.
Slow down, man. Why are we in a hurry?
Yeah, it's a good question.
We're not here that long. Believe it or not, you'll be.
Well, I think that's why it feels like we're in a hurry.
You'll be. I remember saying, I can't wait till I get 18. Then I was like, oh, I can't wait till I get 30. Then I was like, oh Lord, I'm 55 now, right? So time is it goes fast. It don't wait. They definitely don't stand still for anyone.
Yeah.
And just live every moment, every day. Live every moment, every day. Laugh like laugh like you've never laughed before.
Yeah.
You
gotta enjoy it.
Gotta enjoy it. Yeah, I do. I definitely do. I appreciate when I step off, put my feet on the ground every morning. I say, thank you, dear Heavenly Father, for all the blessing that you give me. Thank you for letting me see another day. Thank you, more importantly, for letting your Son Jesus Christ down the cross for me. That's what I say every morning, and when I go to bed, because you just never know.
Yeah,
you never know. And if and that I never would try to put whatever religious belief on anybody else, but that's just what I say and how I feel.
One thing I started doing recently is whenever I fly, and I love sitting in the window seat. Whenever I fly, I make sure that for the takeoff, I'm looking out the window, and I'm doing it because I never want to feel like it's just I got used to it.
Yeah.
Because I always want to try to maintain that like awe and wonder of like,
flight.
This is crazy.
Yeah, flight.
This isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm in the air.
Flight, yeah.
Right now. And same thing. If I can, like when we're descending, if I'm not asleep, it's just I never want to get to a point where that just doesn't faze me. It doesn't affect me.
When you don't want to get never want to get comfortable with that.
I want to always treat it as this is so cool.
Flight is one of the most amazing things that you can be a part of.
Yeah.
And I look out and try to see, but I always, say, how do we get from one, in a few hours, we go from one country or one state to another in a few hours, dude. That just, it amazes me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, and you can, I feel like, go even further than that. There's just so many aspects of our life that are,
right?
Even just hopping in the car.
Yeah.
Hopping in the car and being like, wow, this is, I get to drive this vehicle, like, how crazy is that?
Yeah,
I could take it on the highway and
even
zip it around. I can jump on my motorcycle.
You could even be in earthquakes and not even know it.
Yeah.
I've done it a few times.
In a car?
Yeah. I've done it a few times.
Well, I've never actually felt an earthquake, even though I've been in earthquakes.
Right.
I've been here in LA when there's been earthquakes. I still have not felt one.
I finally felt one a few years ago. I was in a glass building. I thought I was going to die.
Jeez.
I literally thought I was going to die.
That was here in LA?
Yeah.
Glass building.
But a few other times, I was in my car, my truck.
Yeah.
At the time. And I never felt it. And they was like, you didn't feel the earthquake? I'm like, no.
Wow. Do you remember when we had our hurricane this summer?
Yeah.
And there was an earthquake that day?
Yep.
I didn't feel the earthquake, but then everyone got the alert on the phone, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, it's an earthquake!" And then somebody was like, "Well, look at the lights," and I look up, and the lights are all they're all gyrating.
That tripped me out that it was both of them at the same time.
That was a little biblical.
Hey.
Besides the fact that they were both extraordinarily
weak. Did you see the rainbow the other day?
No.
You didn't see that rainbow where it was so thick, and then there was another one. I'll show you the picture.
Double rainbow?
I'll show you the pictures after.
Yeah. I want to see.
Dude. Oh
man.
My God.
Well, I think this is a beautiful place to wrap it up. Just life is crazy. Life is going to throw all sorts of things at you.
Yeah.
But I think that you have a beautiful perspective of just, taking it as it comes. I like the way you said it, water off a
duck's back.
Hey,
man.
Just being grateful.
Because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Whatever's going to happen is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
If you die at 2, you're supposed to die at 2.
Mm.
You die at 100, you're supposed to die at 100.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a hard thing for us as humans to wrap our minds around. It's really hard for us to deal with that.
Yeah.
And accept
Yeah.
that lack of control.
Yeah. Let me give you the best one.
Mm.
Like a lot of people say, he died from COVID. He died. No. This is your time to die. You just COVID just happened to be what was going on at the time of your death.
Right.
And that's how I look at stuff. I look at life like that. Because like I said, I lost so many people early. My mother, my grandmother, my brother. More recently, my stepson died 2 years ago. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
But it was his time to go. It was his time to go. And my sister died this summer. It was his time to go.
Man.
It just, but back in the day, though, Sheldon, people used to think that I was insensitive towards people dying, but I wasn't insensitive. I just understood that death happens, and it is your time. It's just your time.
Yeah,
you always want to live forever, but everybody talking about living forever, going to heaven, but nobody want to die. So,
yeah, it's a funny thing that we just. It's still this weird thing to talk about for people. Taboo.
It makes you nervous. It makes you, nobody wants to talk about.
And yet it's something that's going to happen to every single one of us.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. Somebody's dying right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I think one thing that I really appreciate in Latin culture is the Dia del Muertos, like the Day of the Dead, and kind of that. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know probably as much as I should about it, but having a day of reverence and respect, and also in a way, I think celebration too,
yeah,
of being able to holistically look at this as like this is a part of our life,
yeah,
and that's okay because this is something that we're all going to experience.
yep.
Yeah, man. Well, we covered a lot.
Hey, man, thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming out.
Of course.
I look forward to your future movies. I look forward to the horror movie.
Yeah, man. I got
you.
Okay.
Best of luck with Ramsey Security.
Thank you.
If you are in need of a security company,
Ramsey Security, baby.
do you guys have an Instagram?
We have Instagram at Ramsey Security 101, but I do have my website, www.ramseysecurity.com.
Awesome.
And then, like I said, you can find me on the internet. I mean, internet.
On Instagram?
Instagram.
What is your Instagram? Do you want to share it?
At Eric the Ramster.
Eric the Ramster.
And then Ramsey Security 101.
Okay, perfect. I'll put all those links in the.
And then
in the
I
video
wanted to. My friend, he has a company called Longevity.
Ooh, yeah. Give it like a good
Longevity Lifestyle.
Longevity
So
Lifestyle.
I'm wearing his shirt. He's under Longevity Lifestyle _9. His name is D Edwards, and I'm supporting his and wearing his shirts. And you can order. I think if you're interested in this clothing line, you can order it online under that what I just said.
Right on.
Yeah.
Is there anything in particular about like the brand?
Well, it's based on basically what he said, living long.
Yeah.
And then he can tell you more about it once you join the website.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm just wearing it and supporting it, But
Right on. Got to rep the friends.
Exactly.
So I love that.
Yeah. So,
Awesome. Well, Eric, thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks
you
for
coming
having me,
on.
Sheldon.
And have a great rest of your night, man.
Thank you, man. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, my man. 2024. Woo!
2024.
Take care. Thank you for listening to the Spring Street Podcast. If you'd like to support the show, sign up for the Patreon to receive exclusive behind-the-scenes content and check out the sponsor links in the description.